Okay, thanks for people who are joining us and who are joining us afterwards. So I'm really pleased to be here today, joined by Nick Dunston, Jamie Elless, and Yaz Lancaster, working on three pieces that I commissioned last year. Really excited to finally get to start work on these pieces. They're all really great, and you'll get to hear some insight into the pieces and also. Sorry, I have some echo on my speakers. Yeah, also get a chance to ask questions and get some insight into their working methods also. So, first person joining us today is Nick Dunston. All the way from, where are you, Nick?
I am in Neuburg, Bavaria right now, but normally I live in Berlin.
Great, and you're on tour at the moment?
Correct.
Great. And so maybe you could just give a little bit of background into the piece, like the title and the inspiration. I know we've already talked about it, but just for anyone who might be joining us later on.
Sure thing. So the piece is called Ambisinister, which is, it basically means the same thing as ambidextrous, meaning somebody who is equally competent with using both their left and their right hands. But ambisinister is sort of like, I guess, the kind of negative version of that. So somebody who is equally incompetent with both their left and their right hands. The piece, the main reason the piece is called that is because it asks the performer to use their left and right hands in ways that are slightly unconventional compared to, conventional double bass playing, basically.
Okay.
So that's kind of like my tongue-in-cheek title towards it. I think I am left-handed, but I play the bass like a normal right-handed bass, I guess. I always find it interesting when people kind of tend to associate right-handed or left-handedness with an instrument in particular, because string instruments at least, because you still use both hands, and one isn't more important than the other, and they both require coordination in relation to each other anyway. So it's just like a little bit of an exploration with that, but musically it has to do with kind of messing with our perception of handedness in the first place, and using the same coordination, or the same still leaning into the fact that there is coordination, but it's not necessarily the most intuitive functions of both hands on the instrument.
Okay, great. That's really useful for everyone to know, and also for me to hear it in a more extended form than via email, for sure. Great. So I had a few questions about a couple of the techniques that you have on the piece. So in the first cell, so if I'm going to open the score, so everyone also, if that's fine for you, Nick, just so we can get some of the context.
Yeah.
So everyone should be able to see my desktop now as well. So looking at this first cell, so you describe it as like using the heel of the bow as like a pick. So my question is whether you want any kind of bow hair before that sound, or if you want it to be placed like directly on the string and plucked like this.
Latter, minimal bow hair, but you don't have to necessarily. I guess like when you do like a down bow, do you call it down bow in British English?
I would call it, so if I'm going like this way, I call it up bow, and then that way down bow.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So for down bow, it's more. It's I guess easier to kind of get that pure pick sound.
Yeah.
But if there's some residual hair like on the bow, if you decide to do it above for whatever reason, that's fine too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the down bow sound is kind of like,
Yeah.
and then the up bow sound is like,
Yeah.
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 Okay, cool.
So just I guess like short answer is the pick sound is priority, but residual bow hair sound is fine.
Okay, great. And so you said kind of a medium fast tempo for this kind of 2 quarter notes, and then quarter note rest figure in the first cell. What kind of tempo are you thinking for that?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a really big range. The main thing is I think that the tempi for any of this 2 quarter note then rest thing, where it happens in other cells, it should be relatively consistent with one another.
Okay.
But yeah, like I would say like the minimum tempo should be something like rest, rest, and then the upper tempo can be more like rest, rest, rest. So it's a pretty big range, I would say.
Cool. And I could change tempos within that figure, or you prefer it to kind of stay constant?
Yeah, you can change tempos.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so the left-hand part is more like a...
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, you can pick the specific, you can like with the right hand pick the specific strings that you're playing on, or you can specifically not do that. Ideally, a combination of both. So like the left hand will the fingering will be kind of like heard sometimes and not super audible other times.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. I'm just going to check, sorry, I have to check the thing again, because I think I have something in the way. Okay. Sorry about these technical difficulties. I haven't worked in pandemic mode for a very long time.
All good.
Let's try this. No. Yeah, so I'm just going to move the score over a bit because I can't figure out another way of doing it. So. Is that the kind of thing you imagine?
Yeah. Pretty much. I would say if less bow sound or hair sound is possible, so don't sacrifice like having less hair sound is more important than whatever speed you want to do it.
I'm trying to think, maybe the up bow is maybe easier for me. That's up bow and then down bow. I mean, I can really use the frog rather than the metal part. Okay, maybe that's what you meant all along and I was misunderstanding. That kind of thing?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, cool. Now I understand. I think I was thinking something else. Great. Okay. And then... Yeah, so the next part we have this pitched and then detune. I'm just putting this here for everybody. So I had a question about this actually, about whether... No, that's about the next cell. So yeah, this one's pretty clear. So the detune can be in any direction. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you want kind of a moving soul palm tremolo, so not necessarily always consistent in terms of the speed of the tremolo.
Yeah, it's pretty free.
Okay. Hopefully I'll get the video right by the time we get to the end of this workshop. So this is, so also in your piece, what I really like is this kind of idea of improvisational crossfades, which I use that a lot myself in my own improvising and writing, so I really like that idea of kind of transitioning slowly or over a certain specified length of time between ideas. So the first one was a hard cut as written on the score, and then this one is going to move into the next cell, just for a bit of context. So I'll just try something, and you can tell me how it is for you. Is this the kind of sound you imagine?
Yeah, that's basically it. I would say the tremolo shouldn't overpower the pitch, and it should be, the left hand pitch thing should be as quick as possible. So like you do it, and then like immediately you hear it kind of change. And I know it's like subtle and like more subtle than fingering a note.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Okay.
but yeah, either way, the right hand is like super, super soft.
Okay, I'll try that and be softer with the right hand. Quicker with the left hand, softer with the right hand.
Yeah, great. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And so you have there like a duration of 90 to 120 seconds.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's cool. I could play it for ages. I really love that texture. I guess the question is, how soon do you want the gradual transition to come in to that idea? Like, do you want this idea to exist on its own for a while, and then start to transition, or is the whole thing like a transition into the next idea?
So proportionally, like if we're just, because I mean everything can be longer,
Yeah.
but I would say the transition, like if you're gonna do it for an actual range of 90 to 120 seconds, then I would say you stay on that for like 90 seconds, and then the transition should start after that.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it has its own, it has its kind of own resonance in place, and then it can
it should be its own thing for most of it, and then with the latter like third or quarter of it can be crossfading gradually.
Cool. Okay. I mean, if we had more time, I would love to play each section and go through and check the transitions, but maybe let's go through all the cells, and then maybe let's try a couple of the transitions, and then I think we'll run out of time. So this, as I said, is going to transition to this next cell. So this one is, you said to let the bow kind of bounce on the string, and I'm going to be doing like a left hand tremolo on the G. So the question is the D string involved at all? Like, is the bow bouncing on the D, or is it just bouncing on the G in combination with the left hand tremolo?
You can use either string with the tremolo. I would just say with this one, the bow should be on whatever string you are tremoloing. tremoloing, whatever.
Yeah.
So just as a contrast to the cell prior, where the pitch doesn't need to necessarily align with where the soul pond is happening. With this, it should.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and that can include also just like, left hand tremolo on either or both strings, and you could keep the bow like kind of on both strings anyway. That would work, I think.
So it's kind of always in contact with the strings, kind of.
Yeah, like this. Yeah, because the reason I said that is like I don't want the left hand tremolo without the bow on it to overpower the whatever string has the bow on it. Like it's more about getting like the stick sound on the string and whatever overtones may come out of it, rather than like it's not really a composite texture. It's really one texture, as opposed to two things at once. If that makes sense.
For sure, yeah, definitely. I'll move the mic down like a bit closer to the bridge, so maybe you can hear some of the overtones for this one. So I'll just do it on the G, and you can see what do you think about it. Is it audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So for people who aren't string players and bass players, basically, when you move the stick closer to the bridge, kind of the higher the overtones. That's all I'm doing. So maybe it might not be so obvious on the video. So if I mix them together, I'll try. Yeah, I definitely have to practice this left-hand tremolo thing. It's kind of
it's hard.
That's hard work, yeah.
Great.
But I really like how much. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say I really like how much variation you can get from just moving the bow, and like it gives me a chance to like compose a small form for myself within that small idea. So I can, as you said in your kind of performance notes, you kind of let the overtones and the sound lead the way in terms of the development of the idea.
Yeah, definitely. That's the vibe. And in addition to letting the experimenting with how close to the bridge you are on the bow, I would also experiment with where on the bow you're using it. Because the tip of the bow, in my experience, gets a bit more like bounce because it's further from the controlling part of the bow where the frog is.
Yeah.
But you can get some cool range, I think, too, by moving it like left to right, not just up and down also.
Okay, let's try it. Yeah, there's a whole nother layer of stuff. I mean, you could almost tremolo on both at the same time. It's kind of messy though, and you lose kind of the stick sound. I'm trying to do too much with the left hand, I think. Do you have a specific way? Because maybe people don't know you're also a great bass player. So you've got a big insight into the instrument. Do you have a specific way that you would do this left hand pitch?
Yeah, I mean, I think normally I do it on the G string only. I didn't want to discount the G string explicitly, but maybe that's just easier. I also think that it's more because I mean the string will vibrate even even when you're not specifically like attacking it, of course. So like maybe instead of focusing just on like trying to pluck the string as fast as possible, maybe like you could sacrifice a little bit of speed for like power.
Yeah.
And that would also help with like fatigue and like sustainability, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what? One other thing. Sorry, that other sound great, but I'm pretty sure, like, when I think about me doing it, I would try also plucking from not the top of the bass, but like somewhere around there, whatever
Okay.
position that's, that might work too.
Yeah. It's a little bit easier actually because you have more like contact, like an anchor.
Yeah.
Although the string's kind of loose, so in a way it's hard to get faster because it's so loose and you drag the string all the time. That's definitely something that I need to work on.
Yeah, it's a very weird thing, but yeah, it sounds great though. I mean, already for even through Zoom, I can hear like overtones and stuff super nicely.
Cool. Okay. To speed through a bit. So this is the next cell. So cell 4. So you describe this as like very quick progression from the pinky to the thumb, hitting on the side.
Super hard to describe, yeah. But it's like just like.
Okay. I don't know if people can hear that, but
yeah. But can you see like what I'm doing? Like
the movement is pretty clear. Yeah. Do you include the thumb as well, or?
Yeah.
This one I found pretty hard to like keep stable with the instrument and do it, and also bowing, because we're going to be bowing the rib as well.
Oh yeah, well which rib were you bowing?
I was going to bow this one. I don't know if you can see it. Could try the other
easier. I mean, I don't know if the way I would do it is
this one.
Bowing the other one, and then not up and down, but like the same axis that we bow the string. So
like this.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, whatever is easier for you. But.
So this again, this tremolo, it's not like it can be quite varied, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Something like this.
Yeah. Does that feel stable to you, like physically on the instrument?
That's better, because there was something about, I don't know why I didn't just think to try the other one. I guess that's why the workshop's good. I was doing this, and then like the bass feels like it's falling if I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So
no,
that
the other
actually,
way you can kind of really hold it and hug it a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's much better. I mean, how much liberty should I take, let's say, with the sound of the bowing of the rib?
Well, you can do as much as you want for that. For the right hand.
Yeah.
For the left hand, I would just say, really, because I mean, right now it's hard to tell from Zoom, of course, but I wouldn't think of it as right now. To me, it sounds kind of like I'm hearing a lot of the pinky and the thumb. But really, it should sound like it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rather than 1 to 5 with stuff in between. Still quick, but I'm just talking about like volume, balance of the fingers. I guess the thumb is the strongest finger, maybe. So maybe just ease up on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think definitely the beginning and end, because it's like that's kind of movement you need, and then to make the inside finger stronger is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much easier with my right hand, because obviously having a stronger hand.
Well, sure. I guess I didn't think about that. Yeah, again, like I'm left-handed, so for me, it's
okay. I guess that's also part of the name of the piece, and the whole like concept of the piece is the two hands. So.
Yeah. And like this thing isn't like at all bass specific, so it's like it's not even like I'm like a particularly expert about it. It's just like some like just fiddly stuff. So.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I would find left hand precise quick things much harder in any situation. So. But that's just obviously its own right-handed.
I would not be opposed to it switching if there was a way to like switch bow hands and like that'd be cool. I don't know.
I mean,
if it could make sense in the context of the piece, that was like a hard getting out of that. cell prior. So
yeah, you've got to come from the previous things. No, I think leaving it as it is and just I have to take.
sounds good. Yeah.
If I apply more pressure, for me it becomes more consistent. Yeah, I feel like my brain is fighting my arms, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So here you wrote then shorter and shorter. Is that just the different cells getting shorter towards the end, or?
Yeah, so you're going back and forth between the fourth and fifth cell. So basically, the first one is like around 60 seconds. Then the next one being 45, and then you go back to the one prior to the fourth cell.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it's somewhere less than 60 seconds. And there's not an amount of times specifically to go in between each one. But just the point is that it kind of gets more rushed and more chaotic as you transition between each one, and then it becomes hard to tell like where one starts and one ends because it's all gradual transitions.
I see. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going between 4 and 5.
Yes.
Yeah. So just to clarify, the 5 is the similar.
Yeah. So at this point, everything that you see you will have done already. So 5 left hand is the same as 1 left hand, and 5 right hand is the same as 4 right hand.
Okay. Cool. Just because of time, I'm just going to quickly look at the last cell. For anyone watching, I'm going to have to cover up Nick now because of my incapabilities with the technology. So I had only one question about this. Which string for the right hand? Again, this is using the heel of the bow stuff. Is that again on the D and G, or could that be any strings? This is the final cell.
I would say D and G.
Okay.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of only using those strings for this piece because it's already happened before.
For sure, yeah, it's nice. It's nice also to be limited to just those two, and also you got this added. Go on.
Yeah, no. Just I was gonna say with the detuning from prior also like I like the idea of just kind of like ending up on whatever tuning you left it on.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just about to say that. Then it's kind of has this extra interest. So the concept of the final cell is kind of two different tempos coexisting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I did practice this a bit, but this is kind of hard to keep the same tempos with the rests. I found like really consistently.
Yeah. Okay. Try it.
But I'll give it a try.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds great. It doesn't need to be clean at all in terms of tempo consistency either. Like, it just should be like two things that are kind of going in and out of phase with each other. So, it doesn't need to really be like the consistent tempo within one line. Like, just really, like as if two people are playing it basically and not thinking about each other. And sometimes it'll line up and sometimes it won't, but more often it won't.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And are you okay with it? Are you okay with it being like? Because there I did quite vastly different tempos. One was very slow and one was like the previous tempo from the beginning of the piece.
I think as long as both of them have this feeling of like on off, then it's cool.
Okay. Great. I mean, we've already run out of time. That's partially my fault because of the tech.
No problem.
If you want, we could take another 5 minutes and just maybe play some part of it. Like if there's any parts that you have questions over.
I mean, it seems like you're super clear on it.
Yeah.
I don't want to infringe on anyone else's time, so yeah, I'm cool.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining us. I know you're super busy right now, and we managed to squeeze it in. Awesome, and I think it's really great for people to see like how much kind of interest and how organic it can feel when you kind of embed these improvisational things within pieces. If you're like playing with people who improvise a lot and they're kind of used to it, and also dealing with the durations on quite a precise level and stuff. So yeah, for me it's been really interesting to work on it, and also to work with another bass player who's also a composer is always, that's really nice. So yeah, I'm really glad you could do it. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. We're going to take just like 2 minutes while I check all the tech, and then we'll join Jamie for the next piece. Thank you. Thanks, Nick. Brilliant. Yeah. Sorry for anyone who's watching Nick, did watch Nick, or is going to be watching Nick now, that we didn't start off with the best visuals, but now I got it sorted. So I've worked with Jamie before on a piece that we did. Was it in 2021?
Yeah, I think it was. It seems much longer ago than it feels.
Yeah. And it was a piece called Hospice. And was it for 5 basses or 6?
Yeah.
6 basses, and it's kind of a longer piece, like 15 minutes or so. But that was a really fun collaboration, and so I thought I would ask Jamie again to write me something, and maybe you could just give us a little bit of background, like before, into the piece, the name, and some of the concepts. I mean, the concepts will come up as we go through anyway, but
yeah, it's really interesting to see Nick's piece, because a lot of mine is built around this detuning idea, and having the resultant tunings be the way they affect the original material. That's like a really central idea. The piece is about the man of war, which is sort of a kind of like a jellyfish, and they sort of float around ominously on the sea, but they are quite deadly, even though they're sort of quite passive. But they have these wonderful tentacles, and I really wanted to sort of try and find a way to use that as musical instruction, as a way of making material out of. And then again, combining that with the drones we can get on bass, and detuning, and how that can affect these lines and whatever comes out of them.
Okay, great. I think there was a little bit of delay there, but I think I got everything you said.
You're muted, James.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to tune...
James, you're muted.
Oh, I'm muted. Okay. Oh my god. Yeah. Classic.
I haven't said that in years.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to tune back up. This piece does also use some scordatura later on, but I guess we can start in normal tuning. Although, and this is something that we'll have to figure out, the 3 composers and me, which order the pieces will go in a concert performance, because Nick's and yours both have scordatura, and we're going to talk to Yaz very soon as well, and see what they think about starting potentially not in standard tuning. So, or we'll play Yaz's piece first and things like that. But that's just, I guess, something to consider. I'm playing another piece in March that has a very extreme scordatura, where the A string and the G string are tuned almost down to the E and the D. So it would be, I would need a lot of time to prepare that. So that's something to consider for people who aren't necessarily string players, or who are considering writing alternate tunings. I'm just going to tune it now. And the other thing about scordatura is that you can tune back up, but then, for a good few minutes afterwards, it's still going to be going out of tune all the time as you play the instrument. Especially if you play in cold rooms or anything like that. So there's kind of a lot to consider with different tunings. Just going to make sure I have the computer audio as well. 1 second. Okay, it should be okay. Great. So I have kind of minimal questions about this piece, because it's kind of, there's text on the score that explains what's going on. But only kind of the main thing for me is where should I start in terms of the register, and how wide the range is, because that's kind of key, because obviously there's a big difference between starting here and only using maybe a semitone either side, or starting here and and using, I don't know, a fifth or something either side, it will change the whole character of the piece. So I felt like a smaller register worked better because it fit more into the kind of tense feeling of the piece. What do you think? Do you have any ideas already? Or?
I think you're right. I think it needs to be this. I think the attention is perhaps more important of anything. And yeah, a smaller range would definitely be tenser. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it can also sound a little bit goofy, maybe going up and down really large ranges, which is fun. But I think for this, it needs to be a little bit smaller. Yeah, I think you're right. And using the sort of, because there's a little sort of staff that dissects the whole line. Using that as a sort of vague orientation to say like, oh, that's the middle of the little range you've got. Yeah, as long as it's sort of high and it's not and the bow's not sort of colliding with any other strings, that's the main thing.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'll just I'll give it a try and then just shout really loud if you want to stop at any point.
Well. Yeah, great. I think there's only a couple of things really, but it's as I sort of expected it to be. I think is it easier with the little grazes? Is it easier to sort of come down and then go back up, or?
So do it both directions, or like?
Yeah, like that.
I wouldn't say it's. Let me see. I guess you get less of a break because I don't have to, like, for anyone who's not a string player, I'm gonna have to avoid the strings when I go to the down bow to do the up bow. So there is always a little gap, whereas if I don't need to do that, the sound's constant. So both's possible,
that's what we're trying.
Yeah. What do you? So you think kind of going down and back up is more?
So it was either that, or maybe try even just exaggerating the break on the opposite end. So sort of rather than continuously have that line going, when you go to do the little graze, just briefly stop the line and then sort of pick it back up with the graze then.
Yeah, and that could add to the tension as well, couldn't it? If I play like from the first graze, and I'll do with the exaggerated break. That was maybe a bit long. I don't know. And then if I do it down and up. What do you think?
I like those.
Yeah.
Really helpful. I think both work, and I don't really know which to go with. I like how continuous it is with the little rocking open strings. But then, like you say, add this little air of tension with a little break as well.
Absolutely. I
think for now you can, even for the louder bits, maybe have the little break. And while you're building up to them, the more rocking motion.
Okay, great. I mean, what I was going to suggest is, because of time, we don't have a lot of time, is that you could, because this obviously is just a workshop, but before I do the premiere, you could maybe think about it and you could just write in like whether it's down and up or whether it's just down, just from the down to the up. If you feel like there's a particular one that really needs to have the gap before, and then it has its own kind of form within just that movement. So you could take some more time and think about it. We don't have to decide right now. Let's move on to the second movement. So there's going to be no break between that, but I'm just taking them as they are for now.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I really enjoyed practicing this. I have a couple of questions, and that is mainly kind of how unison do you want the left-hand pits and the bowings to start? Let's say it's a very weird question, but do they need to be super together, or again, could you imagine hearing like pits on its own slightly before the bow starts, or vice versa, bow on its own and then pits? The only kind of technical and coordination element that kind of comes into play for me is that if I'm trying to play in unison exactly every time with the hand coming off the instrument to do the scordatura, it's kind of a lot happening at the same time, and it reduces the consistency of this kind of very kind of still, because there's kind of no dynamic change, and I don't know if it disrupts this very kind of rocking nature with the tuning. Did you have any thoughts about those things already, or?
Yeah, I think initially I imagined them being unison and being at the same time, but I kind of anticipated that, like you say, that might be too much to do at the same time. Like you say, there's lots of hand movements anyway. Maybe if it makes it easier to sort of have the pits come in first and then the bow note just sort of fade up into sort of prominence then. But it'd be nice to see sort of not how you struggle, but see what issues you've got with it. And then see what else you can do.
Yeah. I mean, it was obviously only during the practice that I've done in the last couple of weeks that I'm kind of noticing certain things, and I also kind of like maybe that it's unstable sometimes because of taking the hand on and off all the time. So maybe I'll just play it and I'll try to play them unison for now, and then you could maybe tell me what you think about it. just play that much because of time.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I think you can give yourself more time after you've tuned up or down as well. I think if you sort of stay on the bow pitch to get your hand back into position, hits the note. That's absolutely fine. It doesn't have to be that you go straight from tuning to plucking the note. You can give yourself a bit of time there.
Okay, cool. Right, maybe I'll just play. I'm just going to zoom in on the bit I'm going to play, and I'll leave a bit more time and see how that sounds. I'll try. I think it was maybe easier when I started on an up bow. With these lengths of notes, again, there's a lot for you to say, like whether the notes are long enough and stuff. It was maybe easier. I'll try with an up bow this time. What do you think?
That's lovely, yeah. That's about the length I was thinking. I think roughly sort of a bow or two's length for each held note.
Yeah.
And I think as well, I just as a side note, I think it's smart PP, but I think what you're doing is a bit louder and a bit better than PP. So I think maybe knock it up a little bit. I think approach it as if it's a bit louder than it's notated.
Yeah, I'm definitely playing louder than PP, and that's mainly for Zoom.
I think it works a little bit better, to be honest. So I was thinking before that could be a bit too fragile for how static it needs to be, and they might get them being inconsistent then.
Yeah. And I'm trying not to, because obviously I could use slower bows, but then I need to go more towards the bridge, and I'm trying to avoid like any kind of like a harsh soul pond sound. There's maybe just for like other people to know that that's why it's like one or two bows, and you can, if you work with string players, you can calculate how many bows is going to be a certain length and at which dynamics, and I think it's really cool how it kind of fits. It fits really well in two bows, and you get into this routine of, okay, by the time I'm halfway through the second one, then I'm tuning, and then also having that tiny bit of extra space where I know, okay, I don't need to stress about, even if it's just 1 second, I can put the hand back on the neck and pluck, and just it makes it it's not about it being more easy, but just kind of you're able to zoom in on the music a bit more and not worry too much about, okay, it has to be exactly unison and no gaps between anything.
I think like we say, once you've got your routine down, you can then, like you say, focus on the music, and it's a little bit more, you're not struggling to keep up. You find yourself on the next bits now suddenly. Exactly.
Cool. I'm just checking my notes to see if there's any more questions. Oh, so the only last question is about this movement. I'll zoom in for everyone. Should this last note, so there's going to be no break into the next movement, should that last note ring out? So it's basically like a low bowed string 4. It might not be an E at that point, it might be something else because of the scolatura.
I think that's going to be great. I think I hadn't really considered it, but I think it'd be lovely to have this sort of pond almost underneath the high T note that comes after.
So maybe I'll play like I'll play the last line of the second movement into the first one, third one, because the third one is very very similar to the first in terms of the notation and the concepts. So I'm going to pretend that I've ended up somewhere with the tuning. Okay.
And I think as well, like you've been doing, all of these like tunings are arbitrary. You can just do them, whatever you end up in each time is absolutely fine.
Okay, yeah. Because you kind of specified within a quarter tone, so I'm trying to keep it like roughly within that range.
Yeah, and also I don't want to break the bass as well. I don't want you to end up being like way too many semitones high, and it's scary for everyone.
Yeah. Okay, that's very sensitive. Thank you. So I'll play the last system of the second movement into the third movement. forte. Let me do this crescendo again. Also, I think I'm clipping the mic a little bit. We're kind of run out of time, but that's how it would sound.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think you can take as long as you need for that crescendo to maybe get into position on the G string.
Yeah.
And then just graze up, I think, to it, rather than have a sort of a audible break. You can make that a bit messy if you want to, and just sort of slide around over the strings to get to the G string. Yeah, it sounds great.
I see. So let the E string ring out, and then or
kind of. I think maybe just graze the strings below, like
below the strings.
Prepare, like get into position on the G, and then sort of graze up from the E, so they all sort of ring out underneath.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can add in an extra graze maybe before the graze mark before that now. Final question before we move on to Yaz. So in the second system of this movement, you've got as high as possible on the D string, but obviously I'm going to have to go higher than the starting point. So I could really go as high as possible, like right at the end of the fingerboard here. And then when I go beyond the fingerboard, it makes this kind of more overtone based sound. Or I could start a bit lower and keep it consistent with the rest of the sounds.
Yeah, I think it was more to make sure that you weren't in the way of other strings. So I think maybe I see that as being sort of midway up the neck, but I think being a bit lower might be better. Just to really get the idea of sinking back down onto the E string eventually.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, is there a point at which you sort of, when you think of a note, it actually becomes a bit inaccessible, like on the bowing end?
No, I mean, the thing is, I can reach the end of the fingerboard
Okay.
and use all the bow with all of the strings, so it's not really too much of an issue.
Okay.
I guess the one thing to consider would be, like, for example, at the end of the first system, where I'm going down. And I settle on that line, where does the next note begin in relation to that note? Like, if I go in a similar position on the D string below, it's going to have like an interval, like, or I can try and match the pitch from like here to the next string.
I think the interval's better. I think, yeah, the sudden sort of drop down to the low string. And I think I might put another little graze at the start of these sections as well, just to sort of mask the start of the next string. But yeah, I think it sounds great. Yeah. Cool.
I like the interval as well, and I think because I'm in a scordatura, there's no guarantee that I could actually, because I don't know where I am. I don't have all the muscle memory of being in a regular tuning, so I can't just say, oh yeah, that's a D, and I'm going to play a D then on the next string. It's kind of
I think
hard to know.
Leaning into that like arbitrary tuning is a really good point.
Yeah.
Just sort of embracing the fact that you have no idea what the hell you're going to come out on the other end.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the scoradaturas, the random scoradaturas as well. So, great.
Thanks so much, James.
Thank you. And so now we're gonna thanks to Jamie.
Okay.
Hey, good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Meet you.
Yeah. So for anyone watching or watching later, I've never met Yaz before, but I've played some of their music, I played a piece that Yaz wrote for a duo that I have with Stephanie Lampreyer last year, and I really enjoyed playing this piece and kind of the way it was written with the improvisatory elements. So that's why I wanted to work with Yaz on this solo piece. So I'm really grateful that you're joining us today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thanks for getting up early because you're in the US right now.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I have to walk my dog anyway, so
Okay.
already up.
Cool. So I've got the score on the screen so everyone can see anyway. But maybe you could give a little bit of background, maybe into some of the notation, because obviously it's super open in terms of kind of what the note heads could mean, and also like the pitches, and also some of the graphic elements and the name also. So maybe you could give a bit of background also for me for this piece.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So Half-Life, the title, that refers to, it's like this process of when substances or chemicals are leaving the body, and that's sort of like the time it takes for like X substance to leave your bloodstream or wherever it's circulating in your body. So I was really thinking about like, what would that sound like? What would chemicals leaving your body sound like? Or what is the sound of like chemicals traveling through your body? So that's what I was really trying to bring out in this. So the notation, as you mentioned, there's like no given pitch material. I think that's because I was really thinking about more so the timbral aspects of the piece, and just thinking about ways that you can bring out different timbres without thinking about the pitch so much. And then also I wanted to play around with the preparation. So the aluminum foil in the bridge, I think that will also bring out some like colors that aren't necessarily like possible, or like maybe harder to bring out without that preparation. So I think like those two ideas, like the freedom regarding like no pitch content and focusing on timbre, and then also adding another element that will bring out even more timbres, is something that I was interested in exploring in this.
Great. It's really useful for me as well. I guess the first question, because I've been playing now two pieces that have these scordatures, and you're also a string player, so we can talk about this and we know what we're talking about. But like how concerned are you with like standard tuning, or where I end up from the previous pieces? Like what kind of color would you want for the tuning, let's say?
That's interesting. I'm not sure. I feel like in standard tuning, you might have a better idea of where the harmonics are, and like certain pitches, like what like harmonic is going to come out, like if you're doing a double stop or like things like that. But it's also like I'm not super concerned with the pitch, so I'm not sure about that.
Okay. No, I was just wanted to ask, and maybe I'll tune. I'll quickly tune, and then I will know where I am. Great, so maybe let's work on the foil, because there's so much. I was practicing a bit with like different placements and how tight the foil is and how kind of wide it is. But then I thought I don't want to go too far into it without like just doing it with you in the workshop, because it's a huge part of the piece itself. So I have this that I've been using. And it's kind of folded over, so it's not just one sheet, it's maybe like 2 or 3 layers of foil. And I'm just putting it between, like wrapping it through the string so it doesn't fall down. And also, so that I have this loose end, so I'm then kind of pushing it around the E string, the low string, as well.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you're going to have a lot of experience with this and stuff, but just so I can show anyone who's watching later, like that sounds completely different if you move the foil up. And it wants to slip down. You could kind of do it tighter so it doesn't slip. And then you can bow below it if it's higher up. So there's tons of variation possible. What are your thoughts on it? Like how important is let's say the pure pitch of the instrument without the foil coming through the foil sound?
I'd say like maybe a little bit more emphasis on the foil sound.
Yeah. So maybe I could just make sure it's touching more. Maybe because when I showed you before, it was like right against the bridge, so
right.
I could try like this. And I guess, I mean, do you want me to bow below the foil at any point, or is that an option?
I'd say yeah, it's definitely an option. Yeah, I think we should like play around with like each gesture and see like which one would make sense.
Okay, cool. Well, let's say this is the starting position of the foil, and we can work on it from here. And also,
right.
when I'm recording, probably I'll be playing on a different instrument. So it's good. We have this workshop to figure out, so I can try and replicate this later on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so maybe we can just go through each gesture, as you say, and just you can explain to me what it is.
Yeah, so I won't explain too much with the actual like graphic notation, since I feel like that is the point of that.
Yeah.
But like the actual like written out or like standard notation. So the first one and there's another one like that in the second. What do you call it? The second stave. Where there's the harmonics. So just sort of. I'd say you can go across maybe 2 or 3 strings, but just like random harmonics up and down the fingerboard. And then that's the first one. And then the second gesture is a sort of contrasting idea. So very high up on the finger, or I guess low down on the fingerboard for you. Okay. Very low on the fingerboard. And sort of articulated bowing there.
Okay. This is so we're talking about the kind of the triangle filled in.
Yes.
Notice. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at the first one, the first 2 gestures, and then because then the notation is kind of repeated later on.
Right. Yeah, and then the last one there is just a tremolo, a very airy tremolo. I'd say maybe like less pressure in the left hand.
Okay, so I'm not really pressing the string fully down.
Yeah.
Nice. And the first gesture, is that just one time, or is it repeated?
So the only ones that are repeated are the ones that are going to have that beam coming out of the right side of it.
Okay, great. So this first one is really leading to this second gesture, this more
articulated gesture.
Okay. Okay, I'll play something, and then we can stop and you can say what you think. So that's the first gesture. I'll try and do it again, maybe more accurately.
Yeah, can you try doing just like one bow and sort of just gliding with your left hand?
Yeah. So right now the foil I'm realizing is like exactly in the ordinary soul palm position where I would normally bow harmonics. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try. Let's try below, so I'm not bowing below the foil. I still have some room then. Yeah, I'll try it on the G string and see.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's more of the idea.
Okay. Sorry, you said one bow as well. I'll try and connect it. So many things. I think I need more than one bow.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Just a more fluid right arm.
Yeah. Yeah, the foil is kind of now stopping. Something like this?
Yeah. I'm hearing like the I don't know, like it sounds like bowing a cymbal almost, where you hear like that sort of like traction sound underneath, which is really cool.
Yeah. And so is it like, because it's kind of gestural, but is the rhythmic content like really consistent, so I should definitely play like 8th note to 16th notes? Or
no, not at all. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds really nice.
Cool. So I'm taking quite a lot of liberties with that. But, I think that's a good position for the foil, because like you know as a string player that especially the higher particles, they don't work at the sol tasto position, but they do. I'm saying this for anyone who's watching at some point, but they do work much better at the sol convert position. So I need to have that access to that position, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
And anything below the foil, the left hand doesn't make any difference. So, so maybe that's like an added option, this below the foil thing, but it's maybe not super important at the moment, at least. Okay. Great, so then you said the second gesture is more like articulated bowing and kind of lower down in pitch, or
so like high in pitch, low on the fingerboard for you. Yeah.
That's me just doing it, and I guess the range could be like smaller or bigger. I'm not thinking about pitches when I'm playing it, because it's kind of what's coming from the instrument isn't what I would normally expect, so I don't have that kind of oral relationship to the pitch.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think the articulation is good. Could you try it once? Just like go really wild.
Sure.
Yeah, I really like that. And I think like maybe over time that can get like a macro decrescendo going into the next gesture would be cool.
Yeah, okay, I'll try that. Let me try the whole first system then.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that was really great. I definitely loved the decrescendo, so let's keep that.
Cool. And I mean, I'm keeping it short for the workshop because now I've already used more time than I promised with you. But that could really be like as long as you want it to be. This kind of middle cell that's repeated. What do you think about the duration of it?
I thought that felt right. I wasn't like paying attention to how long that actually was, but like it felt like a good length. I'd say the last thing could be a little bit longer. The last gesture there.
This tremolo thing.
Yeah. Yeah, just like really to nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, let's move on to the second system. So then, this is kind of similar to what I just did in terms of the notation, but you have this forte piano and getting faster. Anything to add for this gesture, or it's pretty self-explanatory for me?
Yeah. So it's like the second gesture in the first system. But yeah, just starting slower, maybe like the speed, the first speed you tried, and then getting to that the actual speed of like the first time.
For sure. Okay. I'll try it.
And then maybe for the last gesture in the system, maybe that could be somewhere where we try like under the foil.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Just make sure I have something there. I mean, I can kind of shift the foil up and down with the bow actually, which is good.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Maybe if I don't have enough space here, I can just knock it up a bit. Okay,
yeah, for sure.
I'll try this whole middle system.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? I did kind of a transition across the foil into this paint splatter type thing, and I guess you don't want to prescribe too much of like what that should be, but what do you think about that? Should it be a hard cut or more of a transition? Oh, I've lost you, I think.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, you're back. Sorry, I think you cut out the Yaz.
Oh yeah, I was about to say in the chat that I froze for a second.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I was saying it's really great. So definitely do that.
Yeah. Okay, so it's more like it's a transition from this more calm like into the more kind of. Is it okay if it gets more aggressive and louder?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty clear. And then, so I have this. So that's kind of ending, and then we have the last system, which is kind of cloudy. on the page. And yeah, maybe you could just give me some context as to what do you imagine this sounded like, or if you want to.
Yeah. So I think this is like the point where whatever substance we're thinking about or talking about is like actually leaving the body. So just really like a dissipating sound. I feel like these could also be like harmonics, or some of them could be harmonics. Some of them could be above the foil, some could be below, or some could be really soltasto. But yeah, anything that lets you feel like things are leaving or disappearing.
Okay, I'll just try it and you can see.
Yeah, that's really gorgeous. I can honestly I wish I just wrote all of that.
Well, you did write it, so
just the whole piece of that would be really gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's like, at least in my mind, these things. Like, if we didn't have this workshop and I got this piece, I might look at it and think, I really like that. I'm gonna repeat it, or I'm gonna repeat the first 2 or 3 notes of that kind of descending cloudy gesture, and then when I'm done, I'm gonna then carry on to the last thing. So I don't know. You're also a performer, and you know if you have these thoughts when there's maybe not any performance notes, or you haven't had a workshop with the composer, that you take your own kind of liberties and use your own voice in the performance. So for me, that would always be like an option, unless someone explicitly said, no, everything is just one time, except where it's like obvious repeated things.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say definitely take as many liberties as you wish.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's a great piece because it's super open, but at the same time there's a lot of concrete stuff to get stuck into, and also with the foil, like I could spend a lot more time really figuring out how the foil affects the sound and stuff. But also it's nice to just leave it and see what sound comes out, and then make that work in the performance context.
Right.
It's kind of nice when the foil gets in the way and you end up bowing on the foil as well. And then kind of fighting with the foil. Like, I think that's a nice sound.
Yeah. Or even like when you were putting it on, I was like, oh, that's a good sound. Like just the crinkliness of the foil going onto the strings.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to do that, so
yeah.
I'll make it sure it's recording when I put it on, and then you have that sound.
Sweet, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Is there anything, like any other parts you want to work on, or anything you want to say?
I don't think so. That all sounded really good, and I'm excited to hear like the full thing.
Great. Well, thanks so much for joining today and for writing the piece, of course. It's been a long time, I guess, since we first spoke about doing it, but it's so nice now to have the finished piece and to be able to premiere it. If anyone is in Berlin, the premiere is going to be on the 26th of January at Donau 115. Yeah, so come out and hear the pieces, and yeah, maybe I'll do a more studio recording, and let's see what happens with those. Maybe we'll release them, or you can put them somewhere, Yaz and the other composers too. So
yeah, that would be cool.
Okay.
Super excited.
Great. well, thanks for joining, and thanks Yaz, Nick, and Jamie, and yeah, have a great weekend, and see everyone soon.